And we've put a solid point on the board, and I think our dressing room is in a much stronger place there after some of the stuff we've shown about ourselves today. Looking forward to going back to a packed den. I've just got to say as well to the guys that travelled today, I know travelling to these games and these places so close to Christmas it isn't easy, and that was they were great for us again there today, and their reaction and their support at the end after it's a decent point, but fans want to see their team win. But when we came down to see the Millwall fans, they were great there. So we look forward to going again. It's a solid point. If you get 3 against QPR, it's a very good point.
Hello dear listeners, welcome to Achtung Millwall. My name is Nick Hart. You joined me on Christmas Eve, and that was the voice of Joe Edwards speaking in the aftermath of that very solid point up there at Stoke City. Big hats off first of all, before we go any further, to the travelling 550 odd that went up to Stoke yesterday, pre-Christmas, hence the Christmas themed intro. Solid points. I suppose it was. It was certainly a hard-fought, low excitement game. The kind of classic, cliched visit to Stoke City almost. But big. I'm going to wish happy Christmas to Joe Edwards, because he's in a difficult spot at the moment, and we're going into Christmas with thankfully, after yesterday's results, a bit of a cushion, but not much of a cushion below us to Queen's Park Rangers. So anyway, happy Christmas to you, dear listeners. Happy Christmas to Joe Edwards, everyone at Millwall Football Club. Even a pagan Yuletide to everyone else that doesn't take part in regular Christmases. Anyone that practices Satanism, for that matter, I suppose. Anyway, before we get into today's show, exploring the ins and outs of yesterday's 0-0 draw up there at the Bet365. What a romantic name for a stadium, Bet365 Stadium. It is time still, nevertheless, even though it's Christmas gone now, nearly, or upon us, for the Pundit Games question. And it's a wonderful football quiz game that we partner with. Every sale of the game generates a donation to the Lions Food Hub. So great cause and a great game as well. A football trivia game. Answer 5 questions in a row, score a goal against your opponent, and high score win, so to speak. So punditgames.co.uk, do visit. If you do buy a copy, please select Achtung Millwall from the drop down checkout as to how you came to hear about the products, and then the Lions Food Hub will get a bonus as a direct result of your choice of board game. Bit late for Christmas now, but it's birthdays and all sorts of other reasons to buy it across the year. So anyway, we're giving little teaser questions ahead of each show, as you know, this season. So I've chosen 2 questions, listeners, just to give you a sense of the range of the genres of and the depth of football knowledge you need. Just to give an example of it, got 2 genres here. One's the English national side, and one's from the Football League. Always I find the most difficult, and this one's a bit of an obscure one. So if you get the Football League question, then like I said in the previous show, seek help for your football habit. First one I think should be reasonably straightforward. We'll give the answers to both these questions at the end of today's show. But the first question, English national side. This is a man known more for his managerial success. He won the league in Spain and Holland, as well as taking the England national side to the semi-finals of the 1990 World Cup. You've got it already, listeners, haven't you? He was an inside forward who was selected for the 1962 World Cup as a player, but injury ruled him out of that tournament. He played in a World Cup Group 4 game versus the Soviet Union in 1958. A 2-2 draw for England versus the Soviet Union. The team comprising Colin MacDonald in goal, Don Howe, Arsenal coach, Tommy Banks as the fullbacks, then the half-backs as they would have been called then, Eddie Clamp, Billy Wright, big name from the past, Bill Slater. Inside forwards, midfielders, modern parlance, Brian Douglas, Derek Keevan and Tom Finney, there's a name. Up front, Johnny Haynes and our manager from the 1990 semi-final run of the World Cup. So you should have got that one. Everyone should get that one. But the Football League question is a tougher kettle of fish. This is, like I say, these are all, I always find these really obscure. But this is a ginger-haired left-back who has played for both Wimbledon and the post-Wimbledon MK Dons. He boasts the record of holding the most amount of career league appearances of any active EFL player at one club. over 700 now and counting at Milton Keynes. He's in front of David Martin, Robbie Earle and Kenny Cunningham in the club appearance record with 884 appearances. I imagine that's Wimbledon and Milton Keynes combined. If you can get that question, and we will have the answer at the end of today's show, then well done to you. So yeah, 0-0 draw as we've alluded to already on this Christmas edition of Achtung Millwall yesterday. Difficult watch. I mean, I managed to get a stream of the game up there at the 365. As I've said already, I probably will keep saying throughout the show, hats off to everyone. 554 travelling Lions I see here on the Mill Tickets X feed. Well done to everyone that made it up there, because it was not an easy game to watch. Quite literally, one shot on goal, which came right at the very death of the match. We met Idemo Imaku. A strange mix of a game, because it's easy to write off yesterday's performance as ultra drab, and so it was. No shots on goal tells a story, yes. But mixed in with that, as I found a few times really since Joe Edwards has taken us over, there's hints of something in the side. I'm just not sure that this squad, as it's currently constituted, can play the style that he wants us to be playing, or that will advance us up the table very far. Certainly at the moment, we were lucky to get away with a draw yesterday. A better team than Stoke probably would have put 1 or 2 goals past us. But that said, we contained them pretty well in the first half. We were up against it in the second half. That's the main downside. The starting 11, just to before I take you into my conversation with Matt Webb this morning, starting 11 was Matija Sarkic in goal. I think it was a back 4, might have been a back 5. I don't know. I get lost on these formations, dear listeners. Murray Wallace, Jake Cooper, Wes Harding, Ryan Leonard. Midfield 2 of George Saville, Billy Mitch. Midfield 3 in front of them of George Honeyman, Zian Fleming and Brooke Norton Cuffey, and up front Kevin Nisbet. Main talking points, I suppose. Joe Bryan not starting yesterday. He did look good when he came into the game in the second half. And although we did see Imaku late, and he did create the one chance for the Lions, no signs or hint of an appearance for Roman Esse. So draw from that whatever conspiracy theories you want, dear listeners. A solid point, says Joe Edwards, as you've already heard. Or as I ask myself here, is it just merely a lack of attacking threat? I think it's probably the second, in my opinion. But anyway, dear listeners, let's take you now to the conversation I had with Matt Webb earlier on. He was actually at the game, and I really enjoyed speaking to Matt. First time on the show, so take it away now, Matt.
Achtung, Millwall.
Next up on the show is a huge welcome to a member of the intrepid 500 plus that went up to Stoke yesterday afternoon. It's an Achtung virgin, as we just put it off air. It's Matt Webb. How are you, Matt?
Hello, Nick. How are you? I'm good.
Yeah, that was a tough watch on the stream yesterday. It must have been a tougher watch still in the stadium there, Matt. It was difficult game, shall we say?
Enduring was the right word. It was. Stoke's always a tough place to go for any club, but to actually watch the 90 minutes of, well, it was football at the end of the day. It was challenging to say the least.
Yeah, I was just looking at the statistics. One shot on goal, which would be the Imaku chance late in the day, but that speaks volumes for me, Matt. I think you're right that Stoke City away is almost like the cliche of football that, can they go and do it on a wet night in Stoke? So it's never going to be an easy trip, and you can't go there, Matt, expecting to watch a Classico, example of beautiful football. I think anyone that goes there thinking that's what you're going to see is probably a bit mistaken. But blimey, we look so off the pace at the moment. It's very hard. The thing on the internet is trust the process that I keep saying with Joe Evans. It's very hard. I want to trust the process. It's very hard to see a process at the minute because I'm not seeing anything that's very different to the worst parts of Gary Rowett's tenure in the job. It's tough to see where we're going at the moment, mate.
Well, to be fair, Stoke Millwall encounters have never been open, so to say the least.
No.
there hasn't been a game between Stoke and us. I mean, I always think Stoke is very much similar to Millwall in the sense of the industrialness of the team and their work. Like the area itself just reminds me of a Millwall team, if I'm really honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
if I mean, I did look at it from you have to look at it from a balanced perspective, and the first and foremost is we didn't lose, which is good. We gained a
No.
point on the bottom four, so to speak, because all of them lost as well, which is probably a positive. Well, it is a positive, so to speak.
Yeah. It's a fortunate weekend in that sense. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
and obviously Stoke have got the new manager bounce in Schumacher. I mean, arguably
Yeah.
they weren't brilliant. It was two. Yesterday was two really really poor teams. I mean, yeah, the stats don't lie. They had 19 shots with three on target, but those three on target, with the greatest respect, anyone could have saved those shots. They weren't threatening on Sarkic whatsoever. But yeah, we did look. The thing is, I did notice that we looked like we've been on the Christmas drink already. We were slow. There was two. The idea is that
Celebrating what? Celebrating
well,
what?
in celebrating the end of another year. I think that's the only celebrate. But it just looked like for me that the players were off the pace 100%, especially going forward. They felt like they had too much. They felt like they had all the time in the world on the ball. That it was a lot of plays where it should have been touch, receive, go, and it was touch, receive, receive. Think about it, then release the ball. Oh, we've lost the ball, and it just for me it was like we were very slow, and on the back foot
Yeah,
quite a lot.
I agree. I mean, I wanted to. I'm conscious that when you do these podcasts, Matt, it can be easy to dwell on the negative, and especially on the back end of a 0-0 draw at Stoke. All the things we've just said, it's easy to focus on the downside. So I wanted to try as best I can to pick out the positives. And you're right about the. I mean, I think even Joe Edwards. I've got his quote here. He said something about how we the final third is where it's going wrong, and I make him right on that front. Certainly going forward, but I mean, the first half we contained them very, very well. I thought it wasn't pretty, it was ugly, and we weren't going to win any Golden Globes for contributions to the game, but we kept Stoke at bay. There was one shot over the bar, 19 minutes. I'm just looking, but otherwise, we were playing some decent passing movements until we got forwards, and that final third, as the football saying goes, there we looked so off it. I don't know what to make of it, because we were playing balls into behind players and passes going astray, all sorts. But it wasn't. We're on the containing side of a scrappy game in that first half, largely. One or two moments for Stoke, but otherwise, I don't think we were too bad. It just wasn't pretty to watch. Would you agree with that, Matt?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was a strong defensive display yesterday. I think if you look at it from the goalkeeper's perspective, I mean, Sarkic needed a clean sheet 100% after
Yeah,
some of the errors he has made, and I think I've been sort of quite vociferous on that on my voicemails. But to have a clean sheet, 100 is it will be a boost. And as I said, to not lose is a boost. I think. I mean, if I looked at a man of the match, it would have been one of the back lines. I think Wes or Jake would have been, in my sense of a man
yeah,
of the
I'd
match.
agree. Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but you're right. We haven't got nothing going forward. And I mean, I'm a big adversary. If you're going to play one up front, the three behind need to be on it. And I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think we had that yesterday. I mean, I felt Nisbet was so isolated because he didn't get the support behind him. And then Bradshaw comes on again. Then he changes the front. Well, he changes
It's like for
three.
like in a
It
way,
was
isn't
it
it?
was
Yeah,
like for
yeah.
like, and I just thought, well, it looked like to me that he was destined to not lose that game. That was what he was. And do you know what? I don't blame him to a sense. Like, we don't want to lose. We don't want to lose to a team that's languishing in the same sort of relegation fight that we're in, to be honest. And
Mm.
I could see it, but yeah, sometimes you just felt, oh, roll the dice, just roll the dice for 10 minutes, see what happens. And unfortunately, I mean, the subs did make did make an impact. I thought Watmore, when he came on, definitely looked a lot more lively than Fleming.
More energy immediately, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about Fleming. I mean, I just don't get it, mate. I really don't. It just seems to me he's looking forward to January just as much as everyone else there, and maybe puts him back in the shop window. Who knows? Yeah, I just feel. Yeah, listen, it was boring, it was dull, but it was a point, and it's one more than what Huddersfield, QPR, Wednesday, and Rotherham got. Really.
Yeah, that's a positive. No, I mean, that was one of the things actually I put at the end when I'm trying to look for positives, listeners, because the negatives are easy and they lay themselves out for you pretty simply. I mean, second half, Matt, I thought we were a little bit under the cosh. I think we were fortunate that Stoke's problems of shooting matched ours. I mean, Sarkic made some smart saves. I wouldn't describe them as world-class saves, but they were smart enough saves, and he did well yesterday. I think you're right about the clean sheet for him. That will help build his confidence. He certainly didn't look as fragile yesterday as we have seen from him previously. So, and he wasn't tested to the max, so you got to say that. And then obviously the late last gasp moment chance that went Imaku's way, which was really making a case that a few of us have been making for a team that lacks so much creativity. Why aren't we seeing at least cameo performances from the talent? Imaku and Esse. I don't fully understand the Joe Edwards thinking on that, which seems to me to protect them from the rigours of the Championship, the man's game almost. But we could see maybe a bit more than just a few minutes for both of them. To see Esse will be something, but even a 20-minute, 25-minute spell, I don't think that could stretch them that much physically at this level. Do you think?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Imaku. Ever since pre-season, I've been trying to push the Imaku flag to play him up front. You see it. I mean, you see it on the under 21s, whether it be at Millwall or even for the Irish, that he knows where the back of the net is. And yes, I mean, I was a bit gutted that he missed that. But then I say, well, maybe if you would have given him an extra 10, 15 on the pitch to get himself more into the game, he might have seen a different outcome to that goal. He would have been a bit more under composure and reflect. The fact that he was on for 90 seconds before that one came on shows me that, I think if he needs more time. He does more time, and he needs more time up top in a two. In a two with Nesbitt or Bradshaw. And I think you would see definitely a different player there. And the fact that he's buoyed, the fact that he signed a contract, so his tail's up. The lad's tail is up. So, let him show that on the pitch. Let him have 10, 15, 20 even. And against that Stoke team, as you rightly said, were poor. He found that defender out. Imagine what he would have been like if he found that defender out once he had a bit more time under his belt.
Yeah, picked his pocket.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He picked his pocket, threw and goal. All right, the keeper came out, spread himself really well, but he probably a bit more composure on the ball. He would have scored that. But again, youth, more game time. All of this could be factored into why he missed. But no, I do highly rate the boy, and I really think second half, hopefully he'll see more. The coaching staff and Edwards will see more of that now that, as I said, his future is secure to an extent at Millwall. Although in modern football these days, a contract means nothing because at the end of that it just puts a couple of zeros.
It just means on the. I'm going to say the price gets adjusted accordingly, doesn't it?
A couple of zeros on the end. But with regards to Esse, that's an odd one. Now I know you had your conspiracies, mate, and
I was only half mucking about. People have really latched onto it.
I think you bought that fishing rod and they put hook, line, and sinkers, mate. But when you look at it from a grand scheme of things, you may not be too far off the mark in a sense that is a club coming in for him, for which the response is, well, we'll give you back to Millwall to play, on a buy to loan sort of thing.
Buy to loan,
But we have to generate. I mean, if it's a sort of like an opportunity to generate funds in order for Edwards to get players in, unfortunately, if he's going to have to be the sacrificial lamb, then so be it. I mean, I want to see a Millwall team that's going to thrive under Edwards, and he's going to get his team players in.
Yeah, I mean, we have to compete at this level, and I think a few things are becoming, painfully obvious, Matt. One is that Gary Rowett is probably extracting the maximum out of this squad of players that it is possible to extract. He must have wrung the sponge beyond dry. There's every last drip of potential, which I don't think we appreciated at the time, but I think it's been painfully obvious since Joe Edwards has taken over. I mean, I'm just looking at Joe's track record. This is not a criticism of Joe particularly. I just think it's the limitations of the squad. But Joe Edwards has played 8. He's won one game, obviously. That was the Sheffield Wednesday away win. He's drawn 3 now after yesterday and lost 4, which is relegation form. Scored 9, conceded 12. But it's one of the truths of football that maybe every squad has its limits. I think we're seeing the limits of this current squad. So if there is going to be a process, trust the process, everyone's saying, then I don't think this squad as it stands at the moment is capable of pursuing that any further without some fairly decisive changes in January, which is just about a week or so away now. Is that fair from your point? Do you think we need dramatic changes? I mean, what we'll get and what we want are two different things, but it's hard to see this squad progressing under whatever this process is going to mean.
I said from the moment. Oh well, I said the moment he came in. I actually I said December's going to be horrible, and it's going to be the most turbulent time on the pitch in terms of results and performances that we were going to get until until January. The team, there is a mixed bag, and there are players there that justify where we are in the league 100%.
Yeah. The league table does not lie, as they say.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. And looking on the form, I mean, as I said, Stoke are on similar sort of form as us, 3 draws in 5. But then we look at teams above us. Birmingham's are on. I think Birmingham are in free fall, to be fair. But and there's other teams like Preston and Blackburn who are having a bit of a sticky form. But I think, yeah, in terms of our squad, we have got players that can compete in the top 10, 100%. But there's only a handful of them. There isn't if I named them, you would say, well, Denor injured, gutted. He's definitely in it. I do believe Nisbet is a top 10 striker. Imaku is a top 10 striker. But then we look, and then even Harding is now developing into sort of like a really strong centre half that can compete in the top half. But then, and so is Jake Cooper. We just need to iron out the areas in which we need to improve. The left side, when Brian came on yesterday, he looked better. And we reverted to a 5, better. Didn't we, when he came on? And then when McNamara came on for Norton Cuffy, which I think that raised a few eyebrows, if I'm honest with you. But that told me he was setting out that we weren't going to lose. We were setting out not to lose tomorrow when he took Norton Cuffy off. But the areas are. I mean, there are areas that we need to. I think again, midfield. We need people to support the likes of Denor and Saville and Mitchell. No, we'll have to just ship off Campbell. He doesn't. I don't get that one.
Well, he hasn't impressed. I mean, I thought the quality of the crossing, the final ball, as they would call it in football, was very poor. Yes, we had a few set pieces, and was commented on the commentary, Carl and Max, how poor our delivery was. I imagine that's going to be one of the most frustrating parts of football management, because I'm sure that they will be working on that in whatever training sessions they can fit into this very hectic schedule at the moment, Matt. But as soon as they cross the line, go onto the pitch, it seems to be, it becomes very poor. I mean, yes, we're not creating chances for our strike. I make you right about Nisbet. I think he is a good finisher. And Marku we've mentioned, but we're not creating chances. And if we don't create chances, that's where you get stats like yesterday with just 1 shot on target. 2 shots off target. I was struggling to think of which. I don't even remember the other shots on off target. So, it's a wasteland really in that sense. But delivery of the ball has got to improve. Otherwise, we are going to struggle like this going forwards.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I agree. I didn't see the other shots, to be fair. But then again, maybe that's because the stewards decided to stand up with 10 minutes to go and nobody could see the rest of the game. But I mean, it was very heavily. A lot of authorities. It was very heavily policed for 550 fans. Let's just say, but But you're right. Creativity, yeah, we've got absolutely. We're very, very poor in that camp, and I think that's where Edwards needs to rely on. I mean, would we be cheeky enough to go into look for get another get Callum Stiles back? I don't know about your views on it. I really wish we pushed the boat out for him in the summer, but
Any creativity, Matt, will be welcome at
mm,
the moment. Obviously, Denor brought the perceptive passing, and he's been out for a while now. And we have missed him. It was noticeable. You mentioned Joe Bryan already, but noticeable the quality level that went up as soon as Bryan came into the game yesterday. So, um, you know, I'm not so in despair as some that you read online. But I do think we need to see we're going to need to see a decision during January. We're either going to have to make some decisive changes in squad terms, bringing people in. Styles might be an option. Who knows about Cresswell? This is like often the dream of people posting online that Cresswell might be available. Who knows? We'll see. But we've either got to make decisive changes, Matt, or we've got to go back to basics, and that's going to be play Rowett ball and make no bones about it. That's what we're going to do to survive until we can get through to the summertime, when maybe the Joe Edwards plan can have more of a chance to be put into action. But we've got this decision time very, very soon for the club, I think. I mean, January the 1st is about a week away now, so it's going to be a decisive month, I think.
I agree. I think I think they've obviously got some. They'll have some names in their head already, and they've probably been out already to sort of look here. I mean, Andy Myers was back prior to his role here, he was going out to all the Chelsea loanies around the country, or even around probably Europe, to watch them play. So whether him and Edwards have got some names in the fire already, that Alex Aldridge is probably working his business management knowledge to it. Who knows? But do you know what? I would just take a win ugly now scenario. Just as I say, clear us away from it. I mean, Boxing Day now it's bigger than huge. It is that's QPR 3 point. We're 3 points with a goal difference. So really, truthfully, unless we get hammered by 3 or 4, that goal difference can act as like another point. But the Boxing Day QPR game at home is a must. I mean, I don't think. Yes, we need to have that atmosphere back at Millwall and really ramp it up so that they're coming into a cauldron, so to speak. But who knows when people are going to have their Christmas Day hangovers, whether that's going to happen. But
it's a chance to turn it into a 6-point gap between us and Queen's Park Rangers, which would be very, very welcome, very handy, with Norwich on the Friday night fixture. So it is a big game, Boxing Day. What do you make of Joe Edwards so far, Matt? What's your views on him as a manager so far? Are you? I mean, I'm just reading some of the comments from yesterday on online. I know people react, quite extreme levels. But I mean, there's one here, Steve Morton, just struggling to see any improvement in play, tactics, set pieces, or subs. How Marku didn't get 20 minutes is beyond me. Fleming is woefully off form, all very worrying. So, criticism, I suppose, of Joe Edwards in that we haven't improved. Which takes me to my point I made a few minutes ago, that I think the squad maybe are at the limits of where they can go, short of big changes in January. How do you see Edwards so far from your perspective?
First and foremost, Joe Edwards' background is he's come from the same stable as some other successful managers. Lampard, Rodgers, Paul Clement, Michael Beale. So he's come from that Chelsea academy stable. So he's had a really good upbringing, albeit that he's not played the game fine. That's I'm in the camp of, well, you don't actually have to play the game to be a good manager, because sometimes being a very good footballer doesn't make you a very good manager. So
no, it's a different discipline.
100%. So in that sense, I am full of optimism. I'm full of excitement of him coming along. I think the modern football now is this head coach sort of position. There's no, I mean, the old days of like your Allardyces or your Warnocks.
George Graham's,
that sort of theory of being a football manager is now sort of it's eroding, and I think the coaching side thing is now coming more into flourishment. So
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's the way forward that modern football is. It was going to be tough for him. It's his first managerial job, and to come and he's cutting his cloth accordingly at one of the most challenging clubs in the country. I mean, we're not a happy clappy down the valley sort of club that's gonna go. Never mind, put your arm around you. Don't worry, mate. We've got the next game. It's going to be if you don't perform from day one, you're going to be you will they will let you know.
Oh no,
So
they'll let you know
give
short in
him
short order. You see it a lot
give
now online. People venting, but
I say give him his due. I mean, at least he's come into it and gone right. Well, come on in. I'm going to come over here, shoulders chest out, and we'll give it a go. And it's I believe he needs he has to have the advice around him, and it kind of stems to yes, there's no change in the style, in the tactics, in the play, but is that down to Edward Stewart? I would have a look at his coaching staff. It hasn't changed it. All he's brought in was Andy Myers. So
Myers, yeah.
you've still got
Aaron Barrett's
Barrett,
still
who's
on it.
worked under.
Yeah,
You still got Marshall.
yeah.
So you still got that. Now, if it comes to a point where he goes, you know what? Cheers, chaps. Thanks for integrating me into the club and the team. You've shown me the players. You've shown me their style. Okay, now I'm taking it on reign now, and that's how I feel like it's going to happen now in January. It's got right. Cheers, chaps. I'm now bringing my own team in now, and I think I think there's a lot behind not just Edwards. I think there's a lot you've got to look at the actual coaching bench, and I think that's why you haven't seen changes because he just wants to make sure he doesn't want to rock the boat too much from day one. Okay, for the Sheffield game, it was a bit of an enigma. It was a great win, a great performance, but that for me was shackles off, go and have fun, boys. And I do believe that he's taken this time, this month, this turbulent month that I've always said, to really look at his squad, really look at his players, really integrate a few what Joe Edwards or what Andy Myers could bring to the table. Getting advice, he says he gets advice from the likes of Lampard,
Lampard,
which
yeah.
I could probably rather pick advice from somebody a bit better personally, but that's but but you know what? I do believe once we got Christmas out of the way, and yes, and if he comes out of this, really, the greatest respect, if he comes out of this unscathed and we haven't lost, all right, if we whack out another 3 more draws, QPR, Norwich at home, Bristol away, and we've actually come out of Christmas not losing, I mean, yes, it probably might don't look positive from a sense of we've not won. It ain't a bad thing if we haven't lost. Then that's sort of like my balanced glass half full approach, and I've got high expectations of him becoming a good coach, and
Yeah,
but it's like I see the green shoots from the ground. Let's just put it like that, and I think to walk 1,000 miles, you need to take that first step, and I think once he starts putting that in and really put the Joe Edwards style on that team, I do believe we'll see a better Millwall in the second half of the season.
nicely optimistic after that long drive up to the Potteries yesterday, mate. I really appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday today, mate, to talk about it. It's an interesting point you make about the coaching staff. That's a very interesting point. I hadn't thought of that. And that may be a change in itself, as you say. So that's an interesting angle to take. But I just wanted to say thank you for coming on the show today, Matt Webb.
Yeah, appreciate it, Nick. And I just want to sort of like personally thank you for doing what you do. Your calendars are great. It's up in my office as I send it to you. And
Thank you very much.
what you do for the Food Hub. By the time my boy hears this, he'll know that he's got his pundit game under the tree. So that's Christmas afternoon sorted. So thanks for all those questions you put out, Nick, because trust me, I'm going to be smashing it, I think, in that competition. And I wish you, and obviously thank the team, and I hope everyone's voted as well for the podcast awards, mate, because you absolutely thoroughly, you and the team thoroughly deserve it. And I wish you all, you and I'll say Harry, Fizz, Michael, everyone that contributes to the team, a Merry Christmas, great New Year, and that's to all your dear listeners as well, mate.
Big thank you, Matt Webb. Those very kind words, mate. All the best.
Thanks very much, Nick. Take care, mate.
Huge thank you to Matt for joining me this morning to talk over yesterday's win, and for those kind words. He took me aback with those. I didn't quite know what to say. It's accepting compliments is always a problem for us all, dear listeners, isn't it? But big thank you for those very, very kind words. Incidentally, if you do want to vote for Achtung Millwall in the Sports Podcast Awards, there's a link on my X page, Twitter, as it was once known. We're up against some serious opponents. I mean, I looked at the in the team podcast category. We're up against various sports. There's one representing the Miami Dolphins, American football, one the Chicago White Sox in baseball, and there's a couple of Arsenal and Spurs podcasts and Everton podcasts. So we're up against it. So any votes that people do or can cast will be most appreciated. Being nominated or shortlisted is in itself a win for us, and I just really want to say thank you to not only to Matt, but also others that have contacted me over time to thank for the show. I enjoyed doing it, and if I didn't enjoy doing it, then well, that would be that, wouldn't it? But I do enjoy doing it. I enjoy the range of voices and views and opinions that we get, especially as we're going to come on to now with the voicemail section. We're going to get all sorts of views. I've been trying to keep this one positive. I haven't listened to any of the voicemails yet, so that'll be a first take as I put them on the recording. But I'm sure we're not going to get as much optimism as perhaps Matt and I mustered in our conversation. I don't know. I could be wrong. But yesterday was a difficult game, so anyone that went or wasn't feeling optimistic out the 0-0 result has got every right to feel that way. So big thank you to Matt. But so onwards, dear listeners, onwards now to the voicemail section. And first up is Lawrence Binney. Let's have a listen to Lawrence's take on yesterday's proceedings.
Hi Nick, Lawrence Binney here. Just finished watching Stoke 0, Mill 0, a game that made the Huddersfield match last week look like the World Cup 2022 World Cup final. Terrible game of football. I think there are two ways that you can look at our performance. Objectively, I don't think anyone could argue. I'll get the objective stuff out of the way first. Objectively, we had no intention of winning that game today. I think we pressed well for the first 20 minutes, but completely shat ourselves in the final third. There wasn't any semblance of patterns of play. But we did all the off the ball stuff quite well. Forced them up the pitch, frustrated them without showing any real intention ourselves. In terms of the way of how you sort of judge that performance, I suppose there are two schools of thought. The first school is, well, we're playing a side that are a point above us in similarly dire straits. That makes it either an opportune game to kind of get off the mark and get those 3 points, or it means it's a definite must not lose. It's effectively a 6-pointer, and if you lose, maybe it destroys confidence. So I can sort of see both arguments. I think we defended quite well on the whole, but I did watch the game on iFollow with the Stoke commentary, BBC Radio Staffordshire, and they were saying that basically Stoke don't have any width and don't have a proper striker, or at least a striker that likes playing off the shoulder. So no width and a big lump. I mean, that is sort of Cooper and Murray Wallace's bread and butter. We can deal with that all day. So I don't want to give a special credit to our organisation. I think we just played a side that was fairly blunt in attack, and it was fairly easy for our defence. But they didn't muck up, and I think actually in terms of positives, I thought Sarkic looked very good today. One of the criticisms that's been levelled against him recently, he doesn't command his area, but I thought he did that all game today, and he looked assured. But but I think for me personally, I want to see a side with at least some ambition. I was always a little bit critical of Rout's approach on the road, but ultimately, we did win games on the counter, and we did we did show intent. We would soak up pressure for long periods, but we were able to break and hurt teams occasionally. There was absolutely no intention of that today. And Imaku comes on for the last 10 minutes, shows a bit of willing, chases a lost cause, and nearly wins us the game with the last kick of the game. Sort of maybe a bit of a glimmer of what could have been if we'd shown some kind of willing. I think that the effort is there. I think we are kind of trudging along and doing what Edwards the players are doing what Edwards is telling them to do. But I don't think there is a real belief at the moment in this squad. And I think it's sort of exemplified by Nisbet's frequent frustrations, and I do feel sorry for him because he is a technically very proficient footballer who has got no support at the moment, and he looked thoroughly fucked off throughout the game. So yeah, we go again against QPR. We didn't lose, which is a massive plus, but we do look quite far away from getting those first 3 points on board, or the first 3 points in 8 games now on board. So we'll see, I guess. All right, cheers, Nick. Bye.
Cheers, Lawrence. Thank you for that, mate. Yeah, some interesting points there. I'm interested by the whole Joe Edwards. How can we put it? The pragmatism of football management versus the slightly romantic image that we were sold when he was appointed. The whole kind of, he's worked with Thomas Tuchel. He has Jose Mourinho on his reference list, and quality at Chelsea. Blah blah blah. There's an idea that we were going to come in and get what I think he described as front foot football, which is, there's no signs of that at the moment. I absolutely agree that yesterday was an efficient-ish defensive performance that someone like Gary Rowett might have said, even for him, was a bit defensively minded, because we really didn't progress very well into the final third of the pitch on the Stoke City side. In fact, we looked way off it, which is interesting. Our delivery of crossing was very, very poor. You could honestly see better at a very low level of football than what Millwall was applying yesterday. So no, we won't create chances. That will lead to frustration for the likes of Kevin Nisbet, and Tom Bradshaw seems to have a willingness to run and forget the frustrations around him. I don't think Nisbet is quite as easygoing in that way. So yeah, that contrast between the kind of romantic idea we're going to see more attacking football played at pace has probably gone out the window for Joe Edwards in favour of he's been infected with football management disease syndrome, where a valuable point at Stoke is something to take home and forget the spectacle side of it. And it's better than losing, that's for sure. I mean, I watched it too, and we've mentioned already to Matt earlier on, the 500 that went up there. I mean, this is not going to get you excited and put bums on seats particularly, but it might get us up the table, which I think is probably the short-term ultra priority. Second half defensively, for me, I thought we looked a bit panicky. I know that this is supposed to be a side that's Gary Rowett, as a kind of creator, but the Frankenstein monster of Gary Rowett. But I thought we looked a bit panicky, and some defending was a bit ping-pong at times in that second half. But anyway, we got away with it. And nearly nicked it at the end with Idemo and Marco. So a big thank you to Lawrence Binney for that starting message. Next up, we're going to have a listen to Joe from Chicago.
Joe in Chicago. One shot on target. Again, team on international broadcast. Can't do it. I don't think Barrelson would ever get rid of Joe Edwards, but this team is so uninspired. I'm genuinely curious if something is really wrong, because there's never a circumstance where a club should be this poor over this extended period of time. Anyways, love the club. Always and true. Hope everyone's well. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Cheers.
Happy holidays, Joe. I'm trying to keep it in with my mid-Atlantic audience that I'm trying to develop. Listeners, happy holidays to you, mate. Uninspired's a good choice of word. It was a very uninspiring watch yesterday. It must have been a very uninspiring trip to make to the bleakness of Stoke-on-Trent to watch 95 minutes of grind, really, with nothing to, to no ketchup to sprinkle on the metaphorical chips to make it lively. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything wrong in the squad. I mean, you get this kind of bright, breezy persona presented by Joe Edwards in the after-match conversations. Either the squad aren't good enough or the style is ill-suited to them. I think it's probably that's for sure. Combination of those two. But how is it going to change? Is it going to change in January? Because I do think if we continue down this, the bleak house kind of uninspired avenue route, then League One beckons, and that I think will be disastrous for the club, because the Berylson family have put a lot of money into the side, and I imagine they've got some idea they might get it back at some point if we ever get near a Premier League shot again. Uninspired is probably a very good choice. But anyway, good to hear from you, Joe. Next up, we're going to have a listen to always a favourite of mine. It's Bill Slack, and I don't think Bill was very happy. Dear listeners, have a listen.
Hello, Nick. Bill Slack. We are going down unless we get rid of Joe Edwards and bring in somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who's managed at this level, somebody who's experienced, someone who's got a little bit of guile, a little bit about them that might get something out of what is one of the most average squads, even poor squads I've seen in a good few seasons. Joe Edwards should never have been put in this position. He shouldn't have even fucking got an interview, let alone actually get the job. It's like asking me to go and run Amazon or something. He hasn't got the experience to run a championship football team, to manage a championship football team. He hasn't, and he's proving it week in and week out, unfortunately. Stoke were absolutely dreadful today, but that's the worst performance I've seen in I just don't know how long. It was absolutely appalling. So where are the improvements? Where is this new style? How is he impacting the quality of what we're doing? In what way? What listeners out there can point at a positive impact that this new coaching team have had on our performances? And as you say, week in, week out, Nick, send in a voicemail. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me what he has done over the last how many weeks or months since he's been here that has improved us. I can't point at a single thing. Not a single thing. And I'm afraid to say there's one or two people at our club who are far too clever by half, who have done us a disservice, done our club a disservice, and done Joe Edwards a disservice by giving him the job. It is going to end in tears. We are going down. Does anybody think that we go and beat QPR on Boxing Day? I don't, because we don't score goals. We don't win at home. There's no improvement. There's nothing to hang your hat on where you can go, oh fuck me, I can see what he's doing now. Look, he's introduced this, he's introduced that, he's fucking player A's doing this and player B's doing this, and there's nothing. The performances are going backwards, individuals are going backwards. Our best player last year, he's getting absolutely nothing out of. Some might say that ain't his fault, but actually, what is he doing? He's not even fucking brave. He's not even brave enough to play Marco through the middle. Now, what's the one thing we lack in that entire squad is pace. And he brings on Marco on 88 minutes, who makes a chance out of nothing, should have scored, and frightened the defence, and we could have nicked it at the end. and he's fucking sat on the bench for 88 minutes while we're watching fucking 7 Stone Nisbet and fucking second touch of tackle Bradshaw run around like headless fucking chickens all game. He's out of his depth. Of course I wanted it to work. It would have been a lovely story, but we need somebody in our club who knows what they're doing, who's got some experience to fall back on, who just knows what they're doing. He is lost. He's looking more and more lost every interview I see him do. We've made a mistake. Somebody at the club's made a mistake, and they need to have the bollocks to go, fuck me, this ain't working, we need to sort it out. Otherwise we're going to end up in fucking League One, and we could be in League One as long as fucking Charlton have been in League One the next time. There's no guarantees getting out of that fucking division. Somebody needs to take some responsibility and fucking shake this up and sort it out, because we're going down. Talk about January, what a couple of fucking Chelsea 21-year-olds are going to come into this squad and improve us to the point that we're going to start picking up points. It ain't happening. Yeah, I'm sorry it's so negative. Well done to everybody who went up there. 3 days before Christmas. You're legends. Every single one here. I'll speak to you soon. Cheers, mate.
Big thank you, Bill. He's asking some tough questions there, Bill. And I think they're probably all questions that are in each one of us who go Millwall or listen to the show, watch, wherever you follow the club, don't really matter. I think they're probably questions that are lurking in the back of your minds. Obviously, this is a huge month ahead, the January transfer window, because as Bill's rightly pointed out, and we've said a few times on these shows, that survival in the Championship is paramount, because to fall into the pits of League One, I was looking at Charlton played Burton Albion yesterday, listeners, and there was about a coachload of fans from Burton Albion sat in that vast away end that they've got at the Valley. That's the level that you're going to be working at if you fall into the pits of League One. Leyton Orient is going to be a big game. You know, it's that kind of vibe. We mustn't over romanticise the idea of having a clear out. I think we've touched on that in the previous show. Whoever thinks that you can get relegated and somehow press a reset button is deluded. Is Joe Edwards any good, is I think the question, Bill. And I don't really have an answer for you at the moment, mate, because you asked some good questions. Where's the improvement? Or we're not really seeing anything, are we? There were moments where in the first half particularly we were looking not dangerous, not at all, which is a problem, but we were passing the ball reasonably well. Whether that's deemed as a good thing or a bad thing, I suppose it's a good thing. But no, I can't point you at any improvements. So that, you know, let's be open. I think probably what we're all latching on to, and I'm questioning myself as I'm talking here. Are we latching on to hope over what we've seen? It's 8 games. I think I had this numbers earlier on. One win in 8 games, and increasingly disjointed performances. Yesterday's performance was defensively solid enough in the first half, and at times fortunate. And if Stoke had been a better side, we could have lost that 1 or 2, possibly even 3. I mean, that might have been strong, but certainly by a couple of goals yesterday. So we were fortunate there. So I can't answer your question, Bill, and you know, I don't really have anything I can come back to you with. So that makes the question very, very good. Have we made a fundamentally bad choice? I think probably the only way we're going to answer that question is we're going to pay the price if we haven't over the next 4 weeks or so, because I think if we're still in Stoke by the end of January and we haven't really made any dramatic changes, and I think we do have to make dramatic changes if we're going to play anything other than basic level Rowett ball, then if we're not seeing like half a new squad in at the Den to play this front foot pacey football, which I'd still say I want to see. I want to see it played well, and whether that can be turned around at this stage of the season or not, with the resources we have, is the I don't know how many millions of pounds you lose by falling into League One. Let's say it's the 15-20 million. I might be well off, I don't know. That's the question, £15 million question. The question of the talent is a good one. I don't have an answer. The party line that gets put out, and Joe Edwards said this in one of his interviews, is that Ramon Esse and Imaku there's a physical demand of playing in the Championship. I don't buy that, because you give them longer periods to build them up to it, and also they're in a profession where you're going to have to face men at some point, and the game's replete with stories of those that are good enough step up to the mark. We're certainly losing nothing by playing them, that's for sure. So great message, Bill. Don't have an answer for any of your points, so mate. And if you listeners out there do want to make anything back to Bill, do give me a shout. You can get hold of me on Twitter, on X. There's direct messaging on there, and if you press the little sound button, you get, I think it's about 2 minutes 20 is the maximum time. But if you want to talk on any longer than that, we don't want 10 minutes worth, do we, listeners? But if you want to say maybe do a 3 or 4 minutes message like people send in, that's great. But give me a shout on Twitter. We can exchange mobile numbers. I don't want to stick that on Twitter and have all sorts of sex bots trying to lure me into embarrassing situations that destroy my reputation at the den, do I? But anyway, give me a shout. We can exchange mobile numbers. Big thank you, Bill Slack. Let's have a listen now to Bobby T.
Good evening, Nick Hart, mate. I'm really sorry it's late, and I hope you're all well. I didn't go up there today, and it's quite late, this message, but all I'm going to say to you is 554 fans went up there today. But, Nick, quick question, with the Joey Edwards connection and the Chelsea and the Andy Myers, and he was a Chelsea, and I don't know if he's a Chelsea fan, but 7 games in now, and Mako, 91st minute coming on. I didn't go up there today. I'm not going Boxing Day, I'm working. Yes, I'm going Norwich. But 7 games in now, Nick. 0-0 away to Stoke. Yeah, point gained. What's changed? My main concern is that Joey Edwards now, Chelsea, whether it's a Chelsea coach or Everton, this Lampard, conspiracy thought, 7 games in, what's he done? Is it Rowett 2.0? And my main concern is maybe Chelsea fans are laughing, taking Millwall down. Because, mark my words, we're in a relegation fight. And all I know is now, QPR, yeah, they lost. The results went for us today, Nick. I get that. And Mako, 91 minutes coming on, should have hit the chance. But otherwise, the most boring game ever. On to QPR. Joey Edwards, will he last till after the Norwich game? Will we beat QPR? We are in shit. Merry Christmas to all the Millwall fans. And that's it. See you at Norwich at home. Let's pray we get 3 points, because Stoke away, you just knew it's going to be 0-0. 1 shot on target, whole game. Merry Christmas, Nick and the Millwall family. Take care. Bye.
Big thank you, Bobby. Bobby BT, Mr. Cheeky. Chelsea connection. I've had enough conspiracy theories, Bob, on this show. I think I'll probably leave that conspiracy theory as one too far for me, that they're trying to take us down. I don't buy that. I think he's trying to do his best by us. I think it's really, as Bill said a few moments ago on this show, whether he has the nous and the capability to do it, and that's a question that none of us can really answer. He can't answer it, because at the end of the day, this is going to unfold over the games. The problem's going to be that we're going to run out of safety buffers quite quickly. This is the 24th game of the season at home to QPR, so the second part of the season, 46 game programme. Game 24 starts, so that's the second set of 23. So those games will count down very, very quickly, and we're probably going to find out quite quickly, by the end of January for sure, whether Joe Edwards really does know what he's talking about, and whether his advisors are up to the mark or not. But big thank you, Bobby. Appreciate the message, mate. Keep them coming, mate. Keep them coming. Let's have a listen now to Dave Baccarini out there in Perth in Western Australia.
Nick, Dave here from Australia. Just watched the Stoke game. That was painful. I'd rather have my wisdom teeth slowly extracted with no anaesthetic than be told to watch that game again. I know we're only 8 games in, but I'm beginning to get concerned with Edwards. Besides playing slightly better out the back, there's not much else that even after 8 games I would like to see. We're still disjointed in our play, particularly between midfield and the forward line. He played 1 up front yesterday with a couple of side players. He should be playing 2 up front. Poor old Nesbitt looked lost. And one simple thing he could introduce is more inventive free kicks and corners. That can be done almost immediately, and I've seen none of that. And often the camera panned to Edwards on the bench, and he was deep in chat with Barrett, and he seemed to be listening and nodding to everything Barrett was said. Do you ever remember Rowett doing that? And that's why I'm concerned Barrett's probably having some influence, and hence we're seeing a hell of a lot of Rowett ball. About a week ago, I think Jim Hackett, was it? One of your callers was really down on Edwards, and I thought at the time it's a bit over the top, but I'm rapidly coming to the same conclusion. Obviously, if we beat QPR, life will smell like roses and it'll all be good again, but I'm really nervous. Bye, Nick from Oz. Come on, you Lions.
Thank you, Dave. Big thank you out there. Happy Christmas to you, mate, out there in the heat. It's not too bad here today. It's 15 centigrade, which is moderate, but it won't be on any beaches celebrating Christmas over here, Dave, that's for sure. Yeah, the whole Joe Edwards question is starting to become a nag in my head. You're right about QPR. A huge game at home on Boxing Day. 1 o'clock kickoff, listeners. Don't miss it. I think the trains are all up the creek, so you get yourself there by any means necessary. It's going to be a big 6-pointer game, because if we can win it, then it puts that literally a 6-point cushion between us and them in relegation. More than that, it'll give us a big psychological boost. So I don't know. I mean, I know what you mean about having your teeth pulled out, Dave. It was a tough watch yesterday. So big thank you to Dave Baccarini. We're going to close the show now with John Rankin. Good to have John back.
Hello, Nick. Hello, listeners to Achtung Millwall. John Rankin calling on behalf of the podcast. All proceeds to the Lions Food Hub. Tremendous charity. Just ringing in with a few observations after that 0-0 draw up at the 365 against Stoke. It's a bit of a grim old performance. I mean, the stats show possession pretty much even. I think Stoke had about 20 shots. We had 2. One of which was right at the last knock-ins, when we could have nicked the game. But, taking it sort of out of context, you've got to be happy with going away to a place like that and coming back with a point, really. But putting it in context, it's so different from how we were performing last season. However, having said that, last season up at the 365, we had a certain player called Zian Fleming who picked up the ball on the halfway line, ran the length of the pitch and slotted it past Sarkic, who was in goal for Stoke at the time, and we won 1-0, or 0-1. So, for me, that's the difference. It's our lack of creativity going forward. I mean, we've got a reasonable set-up in defence. I mean, there are 1 or 2 players there that are creaking a bit and getting old and maybe could do with improving their ball skills. If you look at other teams, and the way they play out from the back, and certainly in the Premiership, it's all about playing out from the back and waiting for spaces to open up in the middle of the park and then moving forward. And that's something that I think is probably beyond our remit at the moment. So we're caught between a rock and a hard place. Do we lump the ball up, which we tend to do when we get under pressure on the press, or do we try and play at the back, which we're not entirely comfortable doing? So there's a lot's got to be done in defence. But we held our own. Stoke weren't particularly threatening, but I've got to say, neither were we. We haven't got a lot up front at the moment in terms of someone who can hold the ball and create a really good move going forward. So we started okay. There was a few of our players that made their presence felt. I thought Honeyman put himself about nicely. Fleming did in the early stages. Norton Cuffey was busy. Ryan Leonard again, strong when it mattered, made some crucial challenges. But it was all very much seat of the pants with Millwall. Do we really look comfortable in possession? After about 4 or 5 passes, we begin to run out of options. There's a lack of movement in front of the person who's got the ball. So that was the kind of first half, pretty dire. Stoke were much stronger in the second half, much stronger indeed, and I thought they were going to win. But again, we kind of defended resolutely, got plenty of bodies behind the ball. It wasn't a particularly pretty watch. We were on the ropes a lot in the second half, but we didn't let a goal in. So there's not a lot more you can say about that sort of game, really. One of those performances. So anyway, listen, I wish everyone a happy and healthy Christmas. I hope you all get the presents you wanted. And we'll see you at the Den on Boxing Day for a crucial match against QPR. Come on, you Lions.
Happy Christmas to you too, John, and good health for 2024 to everyone listening. I think sometimes it's easy to lose perspective on football, and there's a lot going on in the world right now, and there's a lot of people, both personally and that you read about in the press that are not, under the cosh. So football is both important and trivial, all in one go, isn't it? Point at a tough place, I think, probably does sum up yesterday, probably as optimistically as I can muster, John. I'll make you right about your analysis. Zian Fleming going from player of the season to looking like he should be playing at Beckton Park earlier on today is one of the great mysteries that Arthur C. Clarke might have looked into a few years ago when he had that programme exploring, the planet's great mysteries and strange events. But I'm going to leave that to Arthur C. Clarke to look into that the decline and fall of Zian Fleming. I think that's enough for the show, dear listeners. I want to thank everyone that's contributed. We are on the brink of Christmas Day tomorrow, so I'm going to wish you, dear listeners, a very happy Christmas. Big thank you to everyone that listens to the show, that has voted for us on those Sports Podcast Awards, and all the boys that contribute to the show with voicemails or the post-match interviews and everything. So from me, I'm going to say Arrivederci Millwall. Oh, I've got the pundit questions to do before I wrap it up completely. I've nearly forgot those, listeners. I think I should go and have a mulled wine. Punditgames.co.uk, 2 of our teaser questions, great football trivia game, do check it out. Punditgames.co.uk. I asked the manager of our national side at the 1990 World Cup semi-finals, played as an inside forward for England, but was ruled out of the 1962 World Cup, won the league in Spain and Holland. It was, of course, Sir Bobby Robson. You knew that, though, didn't you? You knew that. This one's a tough one. I wouldn't get this in a month of Sundays. Football League questions. A ginger-haired left-back, played for both Wimbledon and the MK Dons. Holds their record for most league appearances, and most in any active EFL player, apparently. Over 700 and counting in Milton Keynes. He's in front of some other familiar names here. Kenny Cunningham. There's all-time MK Dons appearances, which I think includes Wimbledon. Kenny Cunningham, Neil Ardley, and Luke Chadwick. Remember him? Anyway, the ginger-headed left-back, who's played over 700 times, is Dean Lewington. Dean Lewington, if you've got that, then seek help for your football habit, dear listeners. Until the next edition, which will probably be on Boxing Day, after the Queen's Park Rangers game. Until the next show, from me, Nick Hart, happy Christmas. Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.